the link in just a minute or so. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab the link for the YouTube stream so that we can pass it off in the live chat. I think it is over here. Let me go ahead and grab that link. And here it is if you need to watch it at some time. Okay, so I see that, Mr. AM, let me know what time it is right now, and then I can better accommodate. Is it 6 p.m. where you are right now, or is it earlier or later? But anyways, let's go ahead and start. Okay. I don't know if we can. I don't know if we're going to be able to accommodate that. That might be a little bit too late for the rest of the students, but I will keep that in mind. Thank you. Okay, so we're doing Hacker Frogs After School Cryptography Basics session number 5. So we only have one more session to go for cryptography after this, and then afterwards we're going to be switching over to our last course for this batch of courses, and that's going to be the network hacking course. So please look forward to that in about 2 weeks. But in the meantime, let's do session number 5 for cryptography. So welcome to Hacker Frogs After School, and this is the 5th session for Cryptography Basics. In the last session, we learned about the following cryptography concepts. So what did we learn about? We learned about the XOR operation. So XOR is a bitwise operator which can be performed between 2 or more numbers and returns the numbers 0 if the bits are the same and 1 if they are different. So we learned a little bit about XOR properties, and there are several rules that apply to XOR operations as illustrated above. So XOR is commutative, which means that the order that you put the numbers in when you do the XOR operation don't matter. A XOR B is the same as B XOR A, and we also have the associative XOR property, which means that if you know 2 of the XOR numbers, you can get the third XOR number. So if you know that A XOR the XOR of B and C is going to be equal to the XOR of A and B XORed by C. So basically, if you know A and B, you can get C, and if you know C and B, you can get A, etc., etc. Okay, so what are we going to be doing today? So we're going to be doing some XOR warm-up exercises, and then we're going to be figuring out how to solve an XOR problem with partial information. And then after that, we're going to be covering the OTP cipher. So the OTP cipher is another cryptographic cipher, and it's actually the way it works is very similar to how XOR works. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be doing these 3 exercises, and let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about this. So for our warm-up exercise, we're going to reacquaint ourselves with the XOR operation by solving the following challenge over at ctflearn.com. So if you don't have an account at ctflearn.com, you don't need to make an account at ctflearn.com, but if you want to submit the flag for the challenge, you're going to have an account at ctflearn.com. So if you want to take a look at all of the links and all the solutions for the exercises we're doing today, you can do so at the GitHub link over here. I'll just leave the GitHub link in the chat for everybody. And Elliot Allen, Elliot Alien on YouTube says, hello, Elliot Alien, nice to see you here. And we're just doing a little lesson on cryptography right now. And then after that, we're going to be doing so many other topics on cybersecurity after that. Anyways, so the CTF Learn link, you can get it over here as well. And let's go ahead and copy that. The tassel thickness says, get ready for bird interludes. Yeah, we're going to be putting on our birds a little bit later, but thank you very much for coming by, the tassel thickness. Okay, so this is the challenge over here. And so this is CTF Learn. So CTF Learn is another platform where we can do CTF exercises. And this is a challenge called Hextraordinary. So the description of the challenge is as follows: meet Roxy, a coder obsessed with being exclusively the world's best hacker. She specializes in short, cryptic, hard to decipher secret codes, and the below hex values, for example, she did something with them to generate a secret code. Can you figure out what? Your answer should start with OX. Okay, so we've got a couple of numbers over here, and these are hexadecimal numbers. Remember that if we want to do the XOR operation, we can't do them with hexadecimal numbers. We have to convert these hexadecimal numbers to binary numbers first, because the XOR operation is done with binary numbers. So just in case people don't remember, let me go ahead and do a little demonstration. So just going to create a little test file over here. And so XOR operation. So if we want to do an XOR operation between some binary numbers, we would do, let's just suppose we're doing the number 10. So the decimal number 10 is in binary, this over here. So it's 1010. And maybe we want to do the XOR operation with the number 22. And I am not very good at converting these things, so let me go ahead and get a conversion. So 22 binary. Ooh, that's not how you spell binary. So 22 in binary is 10110. Okay, let's go ahead and plug that in. 10110. Okay, so Kilby on Twitch says, hello Shy, hello Kilby, nice to see you here. And let's go ahead and do our XOR operation on, just as a demonstration, we're going to do our XOR operation on these two numbers. So if we do the XOR operation between the number 10, which is this in binary, and the number 22, which is this in binary, we would get this. We should probably put a 0 in front of this so we can do the operation. So these two numbers in this column, it's 0 and 1. These are different. So that would result in the number 1. Remember, if the numbers in the column are different, we put down 1. And if the numbers are the same, we put down the number 0. So the next column, they're different. So we put down 0. Sorry, we put down 1. And the same thing with the third column here. So the first three columns, these numbers are all different. So we put down 1, 1, 1. But in the last two columns here, these are all the same number. So we put down 0 for each one of these. So this is the resulting number when we XOR operation this number with this number. And we just need to figure out which decimal number this is now. So we can probably figure it out by going to some website. Just plug in binary that. And it says it's the number 28. Okay, so we find that if we XOR the number 10 by the number 22, we get the number 28. So this is this is just a manual example of doing the XOR operation, just to remind ourselves how it's done. And we can go ahead and go to the challenge here. And in the challenge, we've got two binary numbers here. Sorry, these are not binary numbers. These are hexadecimal numbers. So if we grab these two hexadecimal numbers, we can actually solve this a couple of different ways. We could do it with Python, or we can do it with a website. So the easiest way to do it is with the website. And if we go over to this website over here, so it's xor.pw, we can do the calculation, the XOR calculation, with the website. So I'll just paste in the website for everybody to take a look at. And because we're working with two hexadecimal numbers, we're going to have to make sure that the inputs are going to be in hexadecimal. So we can set this to either binary, decimal, hexadecimal, or ASCII. So we're just going to make sure that these are both base 16, and we also want our output to be in base 16. So we can go over to the challenge and grab the two numbers over here. So I'm just going to grab the first number copy that and then go over to the XOR website. We're going to paste that in, and then we're going to grab the second number. We're going to copy that, and then we're going to paste the second number in, and then we're going to click on the Calculate XOR button over here. And when we do that, we get this result over here. So this is hexadecimal, C0DED, and this is the answer over here. But we have to remember that the challenge says the answer should start with 0x. And 0x in programming terms means hexadecimal. So that's going to be hexadecimal CODED. So let's just go ahead and copy this. So I think CTF learn, this is the format of the flag. And then we put everything between some curly braces. So I think it was C0DED, like this. And let's see if this is the right one. We'll just submit this. And I think it's probably going to say something like, please log in to submit your flag. We can't actually click on the submit button because we're not logged in. Okay. But anyways, before we move on, let's go ahead and solve this with one more method. Lucas Polga, thank you very much for coming by on Twitch, and hello to you. Okay, so if we go over to the GitHub, in the GitHub we've got some Python code that we can plug into the Python editor, and for this we can use the onlinepython.com website. So I'm just going to copy that and provide it to everybody so you can do this yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of whatever's already here, and I'm going to grab the code from the GitHub over here. So this is this is challenge number 1, and under challenge number 1, in step number 2, there's some code. So you can just copy all of the code by clicking on this button over here, and then afterwards you can go over to the Online Python website, paste in the code, and then, well, before we run the code, let's take a look at what actually is going on in the script. So we got hex 1. These are both variables here, hex 1 and hex 2. We've put in hexadecimal these two numbers that were provided by the challenge, and then we set up one XOR 2. So one XOR 2 is going to be hex 1 XOR hex 2, and in Python, this symbol over here means XOR. So we've got the results hex, which is going to be the hex version of 1 XOR 2, and then we're going to print out something. So the flag to submit is CTF learn, and then we're going to print out a string, which is the results hex over here. So after that, all we need to do is just click on the run button over here, and then we will get our flag. So the flag is here. The flag to submit is CTF learn 0xC0DED. So we can go ahead and copy this. So just highlight this and press Control C to copy. And let me go ahead and provide the flag to everybody in chat. Here you go. And if you have an account over at CTF Learn, you can submit this flag, but we're not logged in right now. You know what? I'm gonna log in real quick just so I can submit the flag and confirm that this is the right flag. So log in. I think the website is kind of laggy right now. Okay, maybe we'll skip that part. All right, let's move on to the next challenge. So we figured out that we can do the XOR operation between two numbers to get a third number. And if you have any questions about anything we're doing, please let us know in the chat, because I don't want anybody to feel like they're being left out or to be confused. Anyways, let's move on to the next challenge for today. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to learn about XOR and solving XOR problems with partial data. So suppose we have 3 values in a CTF challenge. We've got A, the plain text, B, the key, and C, which is the ciphertext. So if we've got this plain text here, it's equal to the word secret, and we've got the key, which is these this number and letter string over here, and the ciphertext that would result from XORing these two together would be this over here. Sigma says, pretty sure there was a server error for a bit. So yeah, we it's not super important that we confirm the flag, because I'm pretty sure that is the flag for the website. Sigma says, was getting a 503 error code when I tried making an account. Ah, okay. So the problem with CTF learn is that sometimes the web server is not very dependable, but that's okay because we're we're kind of finished using the website for today. Okay. So this is we're going to illustrate this by, okay, so if we have C over here, the ciphertext, and we could guess at part of the value of A. So we think that if we got C and we think we might know part of what A might be, then we could probably work with that information to try to figure out what the key is over here. Then we could get partial insight to the value of B, especially if the length of B is shorter than A. So this is what we're going to do, just so that we can get a little idea of how we can apply this. We're going to be using a script from the Hacker Frogs website. Just a second. So this is the script over here. I'm just going to paste in the link. So this is a little script I created. It's called frogxor.py. So this is a Python script, and what we can do is we can solve this using picoctf, because picoctf has a web shell that we can use. What I want you to do is I want you to log into picoctf, and then after you've logged in, I want you to click on the web shell button. So I'll teach you how to open up the web shell, and the web shell is a very useful thing for solving these CTF challenges. So after you've logged into picoctf, click on the practice page, which is over here, and then scroll down a little bit. After you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see the web shell button on the right-hand side of the screen. Go ahead and click on that. Okay, so after you click on the web shell screen, it will show you this output over here, and then you can start using the web shell. So the problem with this web shell is that it's small, and we don't want to strain our eyes by looking at this small print. What we want to do is we want to make the web shell big. And to make the web shell big, we can click on this button that's beside the help button to the right. It looks like a box with an arrow pointing out, and it's labeled Pop Out Web Shell Terminal. So go ahead and click on that button, and then the web shell will appear in full screen in its own browser tab. Okay, so if you manage to open up the web shell in its own browser tab like this, let us know in the chat by typing in web shell is big smiley face. And if you're having any problems opening up the web shell on picoctf, let us know, and we'll try to help you out and get you unstuck. Nullsec says, don't don't tell me what to do. I'm not here to tell you what to do. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. Okay, so Sigma says what web shell is big. Great. Okay, so from here we're going to clear the screen. So you can just type in the word clear to clear the screen, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a file called frogxor.py. So just type in nano space frogxor.py, and this is going to create a Python script with the nano text editor. So after you do that, hit enter, and then we're going to grab the code from the script on the Hacker Frogs page. So over here, and I'll leave the link for this GitHub page in the chat. What you want to do is you want to copy the contents of the script. And you can do so from this button over here. There's a button that looks like two squares on top of each other, and it's labeled Copy Raw File. Go ahead and click on that, and that's going to copy all of the contents of the script over here. Okay, after that, you're going to go over to your web shell, and in your web shell, you're going to paste in the contents of the script. So right-click, paste, and that's going to paste in the contents of the frogzor.py script. So before we save this file and we run it, let's just talk about what's happening inside the script. So in the script, the first thing we do is we import some modules. So we're going to import the XOR module from the pwn script here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set some message over here. So the message bytes over here is going to be frog CTF zor sum zor all, and this is the message we want to encrypt into. We want to encrypt using XOR. So the message is this. We're going to encrypt it using this key right here. So the key we're going to be using to XOR with this message is going to be hackfrog. So after that, we're going to define the cipher over here. Sorry, the cipher text. It's going to be these two XORed together. So it's going to be XOR the message byte with the key bytes. And then we're going to turn the cipher bytes into hex, and we're going to print out a message. The cipher text hex string is this thing over here. Game Boy, hello, nice to see you here on YouTube. Nice to see you, and welcome to the stream. Okay, so over here in the notes, we see if we know the partial content of the plain text, and we know the cipher text, we can determine what the key is. So we've got our partial plain text. So the partial plain text is going to be frog CTF. And if we're doing a CTF challenge, we usually know what the prefix for the flag is. So for Pico CTF, it's going to be Pico in lowercase letters and CTF in uppercase letters. And we can guess this. So we know that this is for this CTF, all of the flags start with frog CTF. And so that's the partial plain text we can use to determine the key, which is this right here. We're going to print out the XOR of the cipher bytes and the partial plain text to try to figure out what the initial key was. So we actually know what the key is, but we're going to pretend that we don't in this exercise. Anyways, let's go ahead and save this file. So Control X to save the file. Type 1 for save, and then hit enter to save the file. So after that, we're going to run the frog XOR.py file. So it's just going to be Python frog XOR.py. Okay, and we see that the ciphertext hex string is this. So we got the ciphertext hex string. When we XOR this together with what we suspect is the partial plain text, which would be frog CTF something something, we actually get the key. Because remember, if you have A, the plain text, well, partial plain text, and you have C, the ciphertext, if you XOR those two together, you should get B, which is the key. So in this case, hackfrog is the key. So what we can do is we can reverse this by supplying the key that we got by supplying the partial plain text. So we're just going to go back into the frogzor.py script, and we're going to replace the partial plain text with the ciphertext. Well, so sorry, we're going to replace that with the key. And we know that the key is hackfrog because we leaked it out by XORing the partial plain text with the cipher bytes. So we can go ahead and save this out after we change the partial plaintext to hackfrog. We're going to save this, and then we're going to run this again. So it's python frog xor.py, and then we get the original plaintext message again. So the plaintext message is going to be frog ctf xor sum xor all. So we're going to use this as the basis for understanding how to solve the next challenge over at CryptoHack. And the CryptoHack challenge we're going to do is this one over here. So I'll just provide the link. So remember, we know that for this particular website, all of the flags are going to start with crypto and the curly brace over here. Just a second. Okay, so what's going on in the challenge here? So the challenge is called "You either know X or you don't." I've encrypted the flag with my secret key. You'll never be able to guess it. Okay, it says remember the flag format and how it might help in the challenge. So what we're given in this challenge is we're given the hexadecimal string for the challenge. So this is all we have here. So what we need to do is we need to XOR this with what we think might be in the plain text. And we think that the plain text might include this, crypto. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new script to try to decipher this. Okay, so over at the GitHub, this is the second challenge. Challenge 2, CryptoHack, either know it X or you don't. And we've got our code over here. So we'll talk about what's going on in the code when we write the code. What I want you to do right now is I will grab the link just so you can access it yourself. Go down to challenge number 2 and then go over to step number 2. So copy the code, which you can do by clicking on this button over here. And we're going to be creating a new file in Nano called no_xor_don't.py. So friendly creative seal says Python. Yeah, we're going to be working with some Python. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over to the web shell. In the web shell, we're going to nano, let's see, no_xor_don't.py. So that's going to create a file called this. We're going to paste in all the code that we copied from the GitHub page. And before we save out this file, let's just talk about what this is doing. So we're going to import the XOR function from the pwn module over here, and that's on the first line. So on the third line here, we've got encrypted bytes. So the encrypted bytes are the bytes that we get from the challenge. So the challenge has these encrypted bytes, and this is what we're defining over here. We just need to make sure that we put these bytes between some single quotes or double quotes, because otherwise there's going to be something bad that happens. We do bytes.from hex, so we take this hex here and we turn it into bytes. And then we've got our key bytes. So for our key, we suspect that the original plain text is crypto and then the open bracket over here, because all of the other challenges, the flag will have crypto open bracket as the beginning of it. And then we're going to print this out. We're going to print out the XOR of the encrypted bytes with the key bytes, and we're going to decode that into ASCII. And then hopefully we're going to see what the key bytes are. So we're going to save the file. So Control X, press Y, press Enter to save the file. And we're going to run with Python no_xor_don't.py. So Python space no_xor_don't.py. And we're going to get this. So judging from our output here, what do you think might be the key that was used to XOR this ciphertext? What do you think the key might be? If you know, type it in the chat. I'll give you about a minute or so. Sigma says my XOR key. My XOR key. Yeah, that's a pretty good. That's a pretty good guess. Let's see. Volcano sees. I see the dollar sign in every line. The dollar sign. Right. So this is well, I mean this is a prompt. We don't need to really pay attention to this. This stuff right here is not something we need to pay attention to. But we see here something that might be a secret key. So my XOR key. The problem is that for some reason they've got this extra plus sign over here, but we can kind of ignore that one. In fact, if we suspect that it is this exactly, we could copy this and provide this as the key, and this is how we would do it. So we're just going to copy this exact thing. Then we're going to go back into Nano to edit the Python script again. So the Python script for the key bytes, we're going to replace crypto here with what we got. So my XOR key. I think it might be okay. In fact, we need to leave the plus sign out here, but we're just going to try it with the plus sign just to see what happens. We're going to save this out, and then we're going to run the script again. So Python no XOR don't.py, and that did not work. Didn't work at all. Okay, so I guess it really didn't like that we put in the extra character there. Okay, so we're just gonna edit this again. We're gonna leave out the plus sign. So it's just gonna be my XOR key. Big task at hand. Hello, is this live? This is live, yeah. So if you want to ask any questions or if you want to follow along, you can go ahead and do so. DPNM on YouTube says, yo, bro, hello, nice to see you here. And Game Boy says something that might be a ciphertext or a key, who knows. Okay, so edit the key bytes so it just says my XOR key like this, and we're going to save this out. After that, we're going to run Python on no XOR don't.py, and then we get the flag. So the flag is crypto. If you know enough, you know it all. If you know enough, you know it all. So if you can guess at the Big Task in Hand says, can I say happy Friday? Yeah, you can say happy Friday. TGIF, everybody. Tech Oraimo says, yo, nice to see you here. Tech Oraimo. And let's go ahead and submit this flag over here. So it's going to be crypto. If you know enough, you know it all. I'll just provide it to everybody in chat for those people who want to play along at home. Okay, so everybody, this is it. Nullsec says, so if you understand XOR at a binary level, did you explain how it's working with ASCII? I think we explained how it's working with ASCII in the previous session, and we talked about how if we want to work with ASCII when we're doing XOR, we need to convert the binary number into the ASCII equivalent. So we would do something like this. Let's see, binary to ASCII. So when we do binary to ASCII, for example, we've got some, let's see, we're going to do ASCII to binary. This one. Okay, so if we do the letter A and we convert it into ASCII, this is the result over here. So when we do XOR, we need to XOR each one of the ASCII letters by whatever is we're going to be XORing it by. And then we need to convert it back into ASCII characters afterwards. So it's a lot of conversion back and forth. And Tekarimo says, "Bro, how can I start CTF challenges and become a CTF player?" Yeah, Tekarimo, let me give you a playlist that'll help you get started. So Pico CTF is probably the best place to start learning about CTF challenges. And I've got a playlist over here that covers a bunch of Pico CTF challenges. So I'll just leave it in the chat, and you can take a look at it. And if you start working through those, you should be able to get yourself on your feet by solving those challenges. Okay, so what were we doing? Yeah, so we're going to submit our flag over here. So crypto, if you know enough, you know it all. Let's go back to the CryptoHack page. And at the CryptoHack page, we're going to paste in the flag. So we're just going to paste that in. We're going to submit it. And then we now level up. That's great. So everybody, this is over at the cryptohack.org website. If you don't have an account, you can make one by going to this link. Storm TW says, if we can't guess the XOR key from the result, is it logical to try fuzzing? I wouldn't say, if we can't guess the XOR key from the result, is it logical to try fuzzing? Fuzzing, it might be able to get you a result, but there's going to be, it's kind of overkill. You could try fuzzing and then try to filter the results by printable characters, but it's definitely not the optimal way to do it. DPNM says, I just started cybersecurity, not even installed any Linux, and I don't even know how to use the terminal. I'm still watching this for no reason. No reason. I wouldn't say no reason. So DPNM, try going to the YouTube playlist that I linked in chat, and it'll help you get started with Pico CTF, and you can get started with the Linux terminal from there. We teach you how to open up the Linux terminal and interact with it. So hopefully it'll help. Big Task at Hand says, currently teaching myself Python, so I've just finished learning about append and extend. Yeah, so those are methods that are going to help you out a lot. And we've got ads running on Twitch. When ads run on Twitch, we also run them on YouTube. And we're going to put on some birds, because during our little breaks, we like to put on some birds so that nobody misses out on anything. So please enjoy the birds. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. DPNM says, can you help me? I'm just a complete beginner, so tell me where I should start and earn millions of dollars and find 0 days. Yeah, we'll try out the YouTube playlist over there, and get started with Pico CTF. It's a pretty good place to start if you don't know how to if you don't know some basics like opening up the Linux terminal and typing in some commands. Game Boy says Noah's Ark 2 birds. Uh, maybe that's very biblical. Okay, let's put the birds away, and let's keep on going. And we're going to be talking about a new concept now. So the new concept we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about the OTP cipher. So OTP stands for one-time pad, and this is a quote-unquote secure cipher. It involves a plain text and a secret key. So if you take a look at the concept of the OTP cipher, it's actually very, very similar to the XOR operation. Because in the OTP cipher, if we've got the plain text A, and that's going to be secret, and we've got the key, which we'll call B, which is the word hacker, then we get the ciphertext, and in this case, it's going to be these letters over here. So when we use the OTP cipher, there's usually a list sorry, what was it? What would we call it? A chart. A chart with a bunch of letters that we can use for decryption and encryption and decryption. So let's go ahead and go over to, okay. Before we do that, let's talk a little bit more about the OTP cipher. I kind of forget how the slides go sometimes, but yeah. So when we use the OTP cipher, encryption requires that each letter of the plaintext is going to be combined with its corresponding secret key letter through modular addition. So, for example, when we encrypt the letter S with the key H, we get the letter P. If we encrypt the letter E with the letter A, we get the letter W, etc., until we've encrypted the entire thing. But who just followed? So XR has just followed on Twitch. Thank you very much. Okay, let's take a look here. So OTP cipher has some similar rules to the XOR operation, since A XOR B equals C and C XOR B equals A, etc. And in this system here, the OTP cipher, if you combine the ciphertext with the key, you will get back the plain text, which is very similar to the XOR operation. So CFG says, is this kind of like the Caesar cipher? It's a little bit like the Vigenère cipher, but it's not like the Caesar cipher. Complete says, why did I pick such a common word as my name? Well, Complete, you can change your name if you want to. Nobody's preventing you. PicoCTF. So we're going to be learning about the OTP cipher by working through a challenge over at PicoCTF. So the challenge is going to be challenge number 43. Let me go ahead and grab the link for that. Okay, here you go. All right, so we're just going to go over to PicoCTF. We're going to search for easy one. Actually, I can probably just type in the challenge number here. The challenge number is 43. No, not that one. 43. Okay, so this is the challenge called Easy One. So it says here that this is a medium challenge in the cryptography category from the PicoCTF 2019 event. The description here says, the one-time pad can be cryptographically secure, but not when you know the key. Can you solve this? So we've given you the encrypted flag and a key and a table to help. We've got this ciphertext here, and the key is going to be solve crypto. So can you use this table to solve it? Okay. Volcano, I see your message and I understand. So no problem. Hopefully your sisters can catch up later. Okay, so what can we do with the table over here? We can download the table, and when we download the table, we can open it up, and it's just it's a table that looks like this. So this table here is a table that we can use to encrypt and decrypt messages using the OTP cipher. So let's go ahead and let me resize this a little bit. Yeah, okay. And let's see if we can decrypt a message. So we've got the encrypted message here, and we've got the key solve crypto. Let me go ahead and create resize some of these windows over here. It's going to be a little bit tricky. Let me see if I can get this done. Okay, okay. All right, so what are we doing here? Let me get this off the screen, and let's talk about our ciphertext and our key. So this is a ciphertext here, right? Let me label it. So this is a ciphertext, and the key is going to be solve crypto. Achu says, "What's up, Shy Hat? Hello, nice to see you here, Achu. We're just doing a lesson on cryptography. We're taking a look at the OTP cipher." DPNM says, "Can you tell me how to hack my neighbor's Wi-Fi? We don't teach people how to hack people's Wi-Fi, especially Uh, especially, if it's not legal. We don't do anything illegal over here. Sorry about that. Dagger RB says, I'm not smart enough for this. I think you are smart enough for this. So what we're doing is we're basically doing a little lookup on this table over here. So let me illustrate. Let me go ahead and make this a little smaller. So yeah, you are absolutely smart enough to do this. You just need to be taught how to do it. That's all. Complete says it's easy. Just take an axe to their Wi-Fi router. Yeah, if you destroy the Wi-Fi router, that's hacking. That's a lot of hacking right there. So what can we do here? So we're going to be figuring out what the plain text is. So we're going to do this one letter at a time. And if we know that the ciphertext is U and we know that the key is S, we just need to look up on this table which one of these letters intersect. And so we can do this for the first pair over here, so the ciphertext U and the key S. And if we just need to look up the key on this in this column over here. So the key is S, so we find the letter S, and then we're going to go over to the letter U. So the letter U is over here. So S is the key. We go over to the letter U, which is the ciphertext, and then we go up. We go up and we find the letter that is at the top, and the letter at the top is C. So the letter is C for the first one, and then we do the same thing with the letter O and the letter F. So we got the letter O. We're going to go over to here until we find the letter F, and then we're going to go up. When we go up, we see that the letter is the letter R. So the next letter is the letter R. This next one is going to be the letter L. Dagger RB says, how do you connect a brute force attack? You start off by hacking every device you have, and then you get to Wi-Fi. So we might talk about Wi-Fi later on. I myself haven't taught myself how to do Wi-Fi hacking, but it's on my list of things to teach myself how to do. Okay, so what are we doing? The letter L and the letter J. So we got the letter L. We're going to move over to the letter J, and then we're going to move up, and it's the letter Y. So the next letter is the letter Y, and then we've got the letter V and the letter K. We got the letter V. We're going to move over to the letter K, and then we're going to go all the way up. That's the letter P. So that's the letter P. The next letter is the letter E and the letter X. So E, move over to X, and that's the letter T. T, let's see, C and Q. So C, move over to the letter Q. That's the letter O. We've got R and the letter Z. So R is over here. Z is over here. Then move up. That's the letter I. Game Boy, you've got it correct, but I'm just doing this manually just to show everybody how it's done. Let's see. XR says, wait. I see what I was doing wrong. Okay. Let's see. So the next one is going to be the letter Y and the letter Q. So the letter Y is, where's the letter Y? The letter Y is here, and the letter Q is here. We move up. IS. Okay. So just to spoil you, the plain text in this case is crypto is fun. So crypto is fun is the key, but we need to wrap this up in the picoctf flag prefix. So the flag prefix is like this. I'm just going to copy this and I'll give it to everybody so that you can solve the challenge. Okay, so let's see. Complete says, wait a second, are we going to write a Python script to do this for us in a moment? I think this one might be, we could do a Python script, but the Python script is going to be very, it's a bit too complicated to explain easily. So we're going to skip the Python script for this exercise. But if you want to, you can look up OTP Python script, and you can probably find a few examples. But let's go ahead and submit this to the PicoCTF challenge here. So it's PicoCTF crypto is fun. Submit that flag, and then you're finished. So we could also do this another way, and we could do this with a website. So website, we can punch in OTP encryption, and we can find this website right here. It's Box in Trick, and this will help us to decipher and encode, decipher and encipher. I guess that's the word, using the OTP cipher. Anyways, let me grab the link, and I'll provide it to everybody in the chat. DaggerRB says, "Gotta go." No problem. If you gotta go, we'll see you next time. And have a great Friday. Okay, so what do we have here? So we've got one-time pad, we've got encrypt, and we've got encryption key. And all we need to do is we just need to put in the ciphertext, and then we need to put in the encryption key, and it should decrypt it for us. So we're just going to go back to the challenge. Hold on, let me... So okay, so in the challenge we see that this is the ciphertext. Copy that, then go over to the website, copy in the ciphertext, and then we need to put in the encryption key. So the encryption key is solve crypto, and we see that the result is going to be crypto is fun. So this does this for us automatically, so that's great. DPNM says, "I'm definitely going to be an elite hacker after watching this. At least able to impress kids by opening the terminal." If you can open the terminal, then you are a master hacker, of course. Yeah, but yeah, if you're doing something in the terminal, of course that's hacking, right? Anyways, so we get the result. Crypto is fun, and so this is an easy way to do one-time pad encryption and decryption if you have the correct key. So this is that was all to illustrate how the OTP cipher is kind of like the XOR encryption. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a little summary of what we learned today, and then we'll close out the class. Zen says, "Do you use proxy chains on Firefox for searching safely?" Let's see. Most of the time, I'm not a super privacy obsessed person, so I mostly just browse unencrypted. But if you're paranoid about that stuff, you could either use the Brave browser, and the Brave browser is a a privacy focused web browser, and you also don't get ads when you when you use the Brave browser, which makes it a popular choice. But if you want to search up how to search without giving away your information, that's definitely something you might want to do a little bit of research on. It's not something I really paid too much attention to. Tales, tour, and more says complete. But Zen, thank you very much for coming by to chat. Okay, what do we do? What did we learn today? So we learned about solving XOR with partial data. So if we have C, the ciphertext, and then we can guess at the partial value of A, which is the plain text, we could get partial insight to the value of B, especially if the length of B is shorter than A. So when we do XOR as a means of cryptography, we need to make sure that the key is at least as long as the plain text. Otherwise, it could be vulnerable to guessing or to some sort of brute force attack. So the OTP cipher has some similar rules to the XOR operation, since A XOR B equals C and C XOR B equals A. So this is the same thing in the OTP cipher. If you've got the plain text and then you've got the key, you get the ciphertext. And if you've got the ciphertext and you got the key, then you can get the plain text. So what's next? So the next Hacker Frogs After School Cryptography Workshop, it's going to be the last session we do for cryptography, but we're going to be covering a very well-known modern cryptography system, which is the RSA system. We're going to try to keep the math to a minimum because I understand how advanced math can make some people's brains melt. It does, it certainly makes my brain melt. But anyways, until next time, so we're just going to stop this portion of the stream. We're not going to end the stream completely. We'll be back in a few minutes. I just need to close out the class with the people who are learning on Zoom, and then we'll be back and we're going to be talking about writing Python scripts for CTF challenges. Anyways, we're going to be back in a couple of minutes. Please enjoy the Be Right Back screen, and I'm going to play some music for you as well.